Hi, my name is Darren Joseph from HTJ.tax, and we're the team that seeks to demystify that sometimes confusing world of international tax. And today we have the honor and privilege of having another conversation with Leonardo. Leonardo, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, Darren, thank you very much for having me. I'd like to start by saying hello to everyone that is watching. My name is Leonardo Marques Sanchez. Just call me Leo, it's easier. I'm a tax lawyer, a tax partner in a law firm in Portugal, also a tax law professor at the Portuguese Catholic University. My main areas of focus at this point are national, domestic, and international issues pertaining to individuals. So I think that's a little bit of what we are going to discuss today, right?
All right, fantastic. Let's talk about special tax incentives. I know we're in a process of moving from one regime to another. Could you talk us through where we are in the process, that evolution, and what are your thoughts as to how attractive it is for the average foreigner?
So we had the NHR, non-habitual
Yeah.
tax residence regime. It worked
Mhm.
perfectly, I would
Mhm.
say beautifully for a number of years. It was
Yeah.
very easy to get. Basically, the only requirement was not have been resident in Portugal in the 5 years prior to the relocation. The
Mhm.
regime was cancelled. There
Mhm.
was a transitional period approved, and then it was cancelled. And
Mhm.
then what it seems to be sort of a backhatch, a new regime was approved. This new regime, we have been calling it NHR 2.0, but really it's not the name of the regime. It's a research and development kind of an incentive
Mhm.
that will, in some cases, allow an even better tax framework. So how does it work? Well, the regime is not as democratic as the former one, so you will have to have a connection, an employment agreement or similar with a Portuguese resident company, and that
Mhm.
resident company will have to carry out a specific activity.
Mhm.
So there are different models under which we can apply this non-habitual tax resident 2.0. It can be a
Mhm.
startup. Bear in mind that startup is a concept that is defined in a Portuguese law. So it has to be interesting for the Portuguese economy. It's not
Mhm.
just a newly formed company. Or I'm just describing the ones that seem to be still the most democratic. Or you have an exporting company. How will that work? You will have an agreement with one of those companies. Your employment agreement resulting from your role within that company will be taxed at a flat tax of 20%, which is
Mhm.
quite good considering that it can be as high as 53% under the
Mhm.
standard regime. But
Yeah.
then the main benefit of this NHR 2.0 is a tax exemption on income from foreign sources, even if
Mhm.
unrelated to this role.
Mhm.
So let's say you're an industrialist in living in US, or perhaps UK is even a better example, and you are planning to move to Portugal, or linking this with one of your previous questions, let's
Mhm.
assume you already have a secondary house in Portugal. You're not a resident at that point, but you're deciding to retire to Portugal and you move here.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
if you're planning just to receive pension income and just enjoy the sun,
Mhm.
the good weather, and the food, then the regime is not for you. But
Mhm.
if you are willing to come to Portugal and explore some of your ideas, and you
Mhm.
have a company that exports, let's say you detach a portion of your group to work in Portugal, then
Mhm.
there is a chance that you will be a manager, and it's difficult to
Mhm.
translate sometimes, a director, a member of the board
Yeah.
of a
Yeah.
company here in Portugal, and you may benefit from an exemption from the dividends that your foreign company will distribute to you personally.
Mhm.
Now, what is the difficulty, or, well, let's not call it a difficulty, but what is the most demanding criteria? The
Okay.
most demanding criteria is that the Portuguese company will have to carry out an activity
Yeah.
within a specific set. So there is a list,
Yeah.
closed list of activities. Let's say hot
Mhm.
industry, manufacturing, health, and something related with technology, with IP, with
Mhm.
software. So obviously, Portugal with this regime, and this is very interesting, Portugal with this regime is no longer thinking only in attracting capital or investment. It is angling at attracting talent. So they have identified some of the areas of activity in which they want to bet in the near future. So you have the startups, I know that will bring benefits for the Portuguese economy. And then you have that list where technology, broadly speaking, will work. That's very good because there will be an exemption on foreign income, and people tend to have had a life before they relocate to Portugal, so they will still have a strong benefit in respect of their foreign source income. And what is interesting as well is that we have seen, even before the regime, or mostly even before the regime was approved, we have seen a lot of tech people moving to Portugal, young people that are very mobile, that can live anywhere in the world. And they choose Portugal mostly because of the features, the characteristics of the country. And then this regime may be a plus. Also, there is very good engineers in Portugal. So it will not be difficult to have a proper functioning company in Portugal. Only sorts of income that will not be exempt, foreign sourced income, are income that flows from tax havens. And we have a list. So tax havens for Portuguese standards, in a way, are the ones that are listed, and income from pensions. So we're no longer aiming at attracting pensioners to Portugal, but mostly, I would say, talented people that want to carry out a business or take on a role, an important role within a company.
Fantastic. So in terms of company size, though, is there a threshold, a minimum number of employees? Or when you say startup, it could be just like one or two people trying to get things going. Would they still qualify?
Yeah, in all honesty, I'm exploring the startup route still this year. So we are basically, it's the first year that we are using this in HR. But no, there is no size requirements on. In the case of the startup, I think there is a maximum, not a minimum. But as I said, I'm still exploring. I'm not overly familiar with that regime. But for instance, in the exporting company route, no, there is no size. It can be a small company. It has to be real, right? It has to have substance. It has to be a proper company. It cannot be a shelf company. It cannot be an empty entity that will just issue some invoices without actual services being rendered, though. But what I find out is that it's not really hard for people that actually are working remotely in Portugal to create a base of operations here. You will find that we'll have manpower to make it work. So it's easy to incorporate a company here. So, but I stress that it doesn't have to be a big entity, far from it. So to answer your question, yes, it can be 2 or 3 people operating it, I think, provided that human resources structure is adequate to the sort of business which is being carried out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Leo, if people wanted to get in touch with you, to hire yourself, to hire your team, what's the best way to find you?
I think I can be easily found on Google. So just Google my name, Leonardo Marques dos Santos, and I think the law firm, Miranda's law firm website will immediately pop up with my email addresses. That will be easier. I'm easy to find.
All right, fantastic. Thank you.